What's up, everyone? Jeremy Majors here with Majors Academy Dog Training out of Green Bay, Wisconsin. And we are live on Facebook and YouTube. So if one is not working, you can certainly tune in on the other and we can get it going. We're live for about an hour. We're going to go over the dogs that are in the kennel. And we're also going to be answering questions that you may have. Any and all questions, that is. So we also are going to review a video on play. And I want to talk to you guys about play because there's a lot of people, I was watching this wolf documentary yesterday, and even the wolf experts don't really understand play for what it actually is in the context of what I believe nature's priority is. And I don't think it's as simple as them just playing. Okay. So I'm just going to wait until a few of you guys join on in, and then we're going to get started. Happy third day of the week, third day of the month. Yeah, this one's going to be informational, guys. Please don't be shy. Say hi. Interact with me. Like, share, subscribe. Yeah, I've kind of designated Wednesdays for this. Hi there. What's up? We're going to be here every Wednesday. We're going to talk dogs. All right. You guys ready to get started? All right. Let's see. So first of all, I'm going to add a video to it. I hope you guys can see it well. But this is my pack of golden retrievers. And there is a past client of mine with a little Malinois running around. And I decided to get this on video because even though I removed my hood, I think I removed my hood to make it feel better for you. But I want to show you guys and talk about play. We're going to start it off talking about play and how it plays a role into what dogs' motivations are and what dogs are trying to ultimately do. Because even though this looks just like pure happiness, right? To the average eye, this looks like pure play. But this is also mixed in with insecurity and dominance. And I want to talk to you guys about it. So we'll keep kind of replaying this a bit. I don't know if you guys can see. Oh, Lord. All right, that's as big as I'm going to get it, or that's as big as it's going to get. It's going to replay. It's going to keep replaying, but I want to teach you guys about the significance of play and what's going on within play, because there's a lot of things that are going on, and it's not just play. Okay, so if you can see closely, the Malinois is the dog that's the odd dog out. She doesn't know these dogs. All of the other dogs are actually, two of them are the parent of the small golden. So that is a golden that I bred and raised up until 8 weeks. Now they've got a fantastic owner, but they come back for boarding. So we have Tina is the mother. She is right there. And then the little pup, that's her puppy, Xena. And then the male is Ike. Sorry for my hood, guys. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'll give the ages of these dogs so that because the age matters, to put it more in context for you guys. Okay, so the mom is 4, the male father Ike is 2, and then the puppy is I think 8 or 9 months, something like that. Um, but Zara is the Malinois, and she is, I believe she's either 2 or 3. But if you can see her, how she plays, she's uncertain. She's a little unsure, unfamiliar with these dogs, but she comes across playful, but she's actually playing a little bit dominant. You can see that in how she bites my dogs. She really kind of gator bites my dogs, and she actually made one of them squeal, which means she's trying to inch her way in to see how far she can take dominating my dogs. Now, my male is very submissive, but playfully dominant, which means he will go up to any dog, he will nag them, but in a submissive way. And you guys know that if you have had dogs or have watched dogs, there is a submissive way of trying to dominate as well. Comes across as submissive because my dog Ike automatically lays on his back, but he won't stop nagging. Now, if my dog Ike was just truly submissive, then he would play in a different way. It wouldn't seem to be pushy submissive. Okay, but now my older female, she is a little bit more mature. All of my dogs, they don't care for conflict. They're not interested in it. But Tina actually takes the Malinois down. Not in this video, but actually before this video, which is the reason why I wanted to take this video. But Tina, the female, is older, and she knows that. So both dogs already know that one of them is older than the other. And you can kind of see how Tina's playing with her right now. That Tina's the one that's kind of giving it to her a little bit more than my male, and the puppy is along for the ride as well. But she's also being a little bit pushy too. So we'll watch it one more time, but I just want you guys to be aware of the little intricacies that play when they're playing, because it's not just, like I say, it's not just innocent play, and you do have to know those things to make sure that dogs don't take it overboard. And so now the Malinois, again, I see her start to get a little chippy. And do you see that right there? You see my female checker? See how she pushed her back? Remember, guys, play is such a forward and backwards thing. The more forward a dog gets to go onto another dog, the more dominant they want to assert themselves in a dominant way. The more things a dog accepts, meaning backing up and accepting rough play, is obviously a sign of more of a submissive dog. However, when dogs run like this too, they're also trying to gain the upper hand through their athleticism. In a weird way, they want to get those dogs tired. So the Malinois is in attempting to get my dogs to become tired because she's fast. The Malinois knows that she's fast, and she probably wears out other dogs. But my dogs are field Goldens, and the puppy was actually keeping up really well with the Malinois as far as speed goes, which I was impressed about. But field Goldens just is a term of their hunting. I use them for hunting. Okay. So if you can see that exchange too, see how that's interesting, and Tina stands her ground. And okay, so let's watch Tina. I can even tell my dogs. So my dogs essentially right now are trying to calm her down, or trying to tell her that, you don't have to necessarily play that rough too. So they'll kind of poke the bear. And that's one thing you also want to know and learn about dogs, is like they will try and fix each other. If they're balanced and one is out of balance slightly, they will poke the bear to get the dog back to balance. And in order for them to do that, though, you must have a dog who can stand up to too much forward pressure. And so a lot of young dogs will try and prove themselves and try and dominate, but an older dog will stand their ground and tell the young dog what's appropriate and what's not. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we review the dogs of the kennel that I have today. But I just wanted to bring up this little clip, talk about play for a little bit. And if you guys have any questions about play, let me know. I may ask for a little bit more of a detailed description from you to make sure I can give you a good answer. But ultimately, there we go. All right, let me remove this one. All right, but ultimately, yeah, play is much more than play. There's a lot of answers that are being played out for in dog-to-dog communications. Okay, we got some questions here. Feel free to ask any questions that you like, guys. We're here until about 10 o'clock. And yeah, feel free to ask some questions. Okay. All right. Artis, I hope I pronounced your name right, says, yeah, I'd be having the same issue with me and my neighbor's dog. They play well together, but then it turns into dominance. Yeah. You know, insecure dogs tend to want to dominate because they're afraid to be vulnerable. They're afraid to share space. They're afraid to share resources. They're like humans, like space, like obviously toys, bones, things of that nature. Insecure dogs want everything for themselves. They're a little bit selfish. And so they tend to want to make sure that they are the dominant one for fear of what may happen if they aren't. And so it's just important that we intervene at a certain point. Obviously, you don't want to take it to where it gets to fighting. But I say a good general rule to follow when you're watching dogs play is, for one, does it seem fair? Like if you pull the one who seems to be more playful, more animated, if you pull that dog away, does the dog that's playing with them, do they go back and freely engage, or do they kind of walk away? Because if they walk away, then it's just one-sided, and one dog's just kind of like, okay, like, you can leave me alone. And then the other general rule is when dogs start to get vocal, it's like people starting to get emotional, and sometimes that can turn into a fight pretty quickly. So just things to be aware of. In general, you know, there are dogs who live together that can be vocal and be fine, like an arguing couple. But if dogs don't know each other and they get vocal, it would be fair to say that you should probably step in. All right. I appreciate your comment. Okay. Next question. My pit won't play. She also corrects anyone who tries to play and tries to correct my husky for wanting to play. Is this protection dominance, or because she doesn't know and thinks someone is going to get hurt? How do I stop it? How do I get this to stop? Can you stop this behavior? Yeah, you can stop her from stopping it. If she thinks that she's in charge and she has that authority, then she will act that authority out. So your job is to intervene in that authority and say, I'm the authority. You don't get to decide who plays around here. However, if you have fighting dogs, that's a different story, because, well, it's not the different story. It's still the same result. You still, at the end of the day, have to be in charge. It'll also help your pack become more stable, meaning if you are the authoritative figure that you need to be, the dogs will start to trust each other more, will become more vulnerable with each other, and ultimately lead to good, equal play. Okay. So, one last thing about play, guys. Once again, Dogs of our hierarchy, they have that need to move up. And through play, they figure out where they stand. Obviously, through fighting, they do that too. But the cool thing about play is obviously it's a bit harmless. They're certainly not going to, you know, become injured. But so only the strong survive really pertains to dogs as well. It is nature that again through play they are going to figure out how strong you are, if they should respect you or not. All right. Okay. I will talk more about that too. All right. All right. All right. Those of you who just joined in, please feel free to ask as many questions as you like. No question is a bad question. I answer any and all questions. Okay. Okay. Let's get started on reviewing the dogs that are in the kennel. First up, we have Kira, and Kira comes from Mitlieb Rescue, the German Shepherd Rescue here in Green Bay. Great rescue. Okay, so currently Kira now is, I want to tell you guys, she must have been in a kennel situation for a significant amount of time. It seems, I may be wrong, but she has a very hard time with my kennel area. The sounds of the crate is something that gets her nervous. It's the sound of the opening of the crate. And it makes sense because if she was in a situation where I was told that just a jingle of a collar would set her off, right? Which means, in my opinion, she was in an unsafe environment where she couldn't trust the other dogs in that environment. And you can tell because when I go to try and control her, which means I'm very like when I bring her out of the crate, I have her on leash, I put her in a sit, and she has a hard time staying still. Which means again, she's very, just on the lookout, uncertain, and almost a little bit spooked out or waiting for something to jump out or do something. Because if you don't have a good calm kennel and control of your kennel, other dogs will be barking, other dogs will be snapping at other dogs that are out in your kennel area. They'll become food aggressive if there's food down, and or again just barky to just get out. And all of those things can create kennel insecurity when it comes to dogs. And that's what I'm seeing with Kira. She is very much so the type of dog who, again, wants to go outside and then come back inside and then like rushes to go back into her kennel because that's kind of where maybe her safe space was. And so, the person who's going to ultimately adopt her is going to have to work hard on making sure she is calm, cool, and collected in the kennel. Okay. And also in control of the household because she needs that. She's a very big girl and she'll need extra advocacy in these areas to help her not want to take charge like she did before she came here. Okay. All right. We got another question. You guys feel free to ask questions. I will interrupt what I'm doing, what I'm talking about to answer those questions. And then we'll get back to the review of the dogs. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. Sierra says, my 11-month-old lab pick mix is great with other dogs, but he's overly playful with our cats. He's obsessed with them, and they're terrified to come out because he's immediately in their space, pawing, nudging them. His tail is wagging the whole time, and he doesn't bark, so we think he wants to play. Any recommendations on getting him to calm so that they can stop hiding all the time? Yeah, so you're going to have to get him to control himself around the cats. Do your cats a favor. Get this dog under control, so that the cats can actually do cat things. But I would spend more time with your 11-month-old lab on leash or in a crate, instead of so much freedom, because young dogs like this can become can create you can create bad habits with too much freedom too soon. The crate is your friend. You can play outside, you can exercise outside, but for the most part, in general, the dog should also spend some time in the crate so that it can learn how to control its impulses, and you don't have to necessarily be on top of him. Now, when he is outside of the crate, he shouldn't be playing inside the house. And again, too much freedom for these dogs can create those bad habits and obsessions, which can turn into a dead cat. And it has happened before, many a time. So you want to have this dog on leash when he's in the house for a significant amount of time, so that the dog learns to consider you within the space of your cats. So if you're sitting on the couch and the cats are out, the dog should be on leash and learn to consider you through your obedience command. So I would have a good sit and I would have a good down. Those two commands, especially the down because it's harder, those commands are going to help your dog be able to, again, lower that impulse to antagonize your cats. And he just needs to lose interest, but he needs to do that through your control. And so make sure that, what I would do is I would teach the heel inside your house. I would teach him how to heel loose leash next to you, inside the house. Give him some productive exercise and work inside the house, so that, again, he's not just able to focus on only what he wants to do and only what's around, and be able to antagonize when he wants, on how much he wants. You got to tell him it's not appropriate. Okay, so along with the obedience exercises, along with keeping him away, with which crate time is okay. He also needs to respect your no as well. So when you say no or hey or knock it off, he actually needs to consider you instead of not even look at you, if that's the case. If it's not the case that he does listen to you, then you just need to use it the right way and get him to listen to you around cats. But if you can't get him to listen to you around cats, then that's a listening issue. And I would look to other areas where he's not listening. Like if he jumps on you, I would address that. If he doesn't come when called, I would address that. If he doesn't go into the kennel without treats, I would address that. And if he just doesn't leave you alone, or he doesn't go away, if you tell him to go away, then I would address those things. All of those things are going to help out with the cat, if that makes sense. All right, so just look for areas where you can tighten up his listening skills. Do not say anything and not follow through with it, because then you're risking the worst possible scenario for your dog. So if you say something, follow through with it, and it will carry over to the big thing, which is your cat obsession, which is his cat obsession. I'm sorry. All right. I hope that makes sense to you. And let me know if I, can help you any further. Feel free to ask more questions or give me more context too. Okay. I appreciate your question. All right. Susie says, I have 2 German Shepherds that are a bonded pair. Fonzie, 3.5. Cocoa Puff, who's 2.5. My boyfriend and I are separating. He will be moving out of my home. He would like to take Fonzie with him, but drop him off with me when he's working. What is your advice to make this transaction easiest on the dogs? Dogs don't care. It'll be fine. Yeah. Dogs don't care. It'll be fine. They'll be all right. I'm sorry that it's happening, but They'll be fine. All right. Okay. Becky Brown says, how do you address excessive barking? Usually excitement to go outside, which gets the other dogs going. Yeah. So first and foremost, you got to have a training tool on the dog. And that's my opinion. When I have dogs in my kennel, they're not off leash. Let's see, for the first 2.5 weeks. I mean, I only let them off leash until I've really recognized that their pattern of behavior is to go where I want them to go and not sniff around and if you have a kennel situation and you have off leash dogs, that creates that unstable energy where a lot of dogs will try to control that unstable energy. So like off leash dog inside of a kennel, not a good idea. If they're free to do this and they're going out here and they're barking, put that dog on leash, make the dog sit after you get out of the kennel. This is how I do it. As soon as I let them out of the kennel, I put them in a sit because they're usually ready to go. But that'll also create that chaos in your kennel. So you take the dog out of the crate or the kennel, you put the dog in a sit for, I don't know, 30 minutes to a minute. And once they're cool, calm, and collected, then you heel good too. You don't let them pull. Pulling to other dogs and to the dog you're working is perceived as out of control, which will make the other dogs that are in the kennel watching or hearing, will make them try to control that dog. And that's where the barking comes through. So you got to have 100% control of the dog that you're letting out to have a chance on having control of the other dogs that are barking as well. In my kennel, no dogs, there's no barking. If there is, I have to address it because again, I don't want to have my other dogs go through having to listen to a dog just excessively barking. So you got to have control of your kennel. And that may mean more control of each individual dog where there's overly excited behavior. That makes sense. So I appreciate your question, Becky. Okay. All right. Next up is Cloud. Let's talk about your boy. Cloud is what I'm gathering so far from him is he is just an overly dominant dog who was allowed to be dominant for too long. Way too long. And a year is a long time. And he's right around a year to year and a half, something like that. But if you allow a dominant dog, so his personality, his socialization should have been started from the mother and the siblings, which I don't think obviously he's a rescue dog, so you never know what happened there, but he was allowed to stay in a dominant mindset for a very long time without the proper consequence to balance him out. So he's very dominant when it comes to humans and dogs. He's 10 months. Okay, so that's even crazier that he's this dominant this young. Which there are puppies who are just that dominant that come out, and those dogs need a very specific type of home, which is hard to find because you have to be very skilled in order for this dog not to take advantage of you, because it seems like that's what his MO is. And so I have a Great Dane that is the same way. He came to me around 2 years old. He was biting everyone in the house, and he was also treated like a baby though. But he needs he needed me to help balance him out, because again, he's the type of dog that when you give him an inch, he'll take a freaking mile. And he was jumping on people, like, what are we doing? you can't teach a Great Dane anything, it'd probably be good to teach him not to jump on people. Hey, okay. So, he's 10 months and he doesn't like his collar. Doesn't like collars being um, put on him for this reason. He knows that he won't be as in control, and he is a dog who loves to be in control. The foster had expressed that the dog will be on his bed and not let the resident dogs on the bed. And which again is pretty, it's pretty cocky of a dog to do that at that age, saying I can be on this bed and I'm not going to let anybody else on this bed. This dog, though, I should also say, he reminds me of a Catalua uh, shepherd dog. His he reminds me of a working dog, and he would do very well if he were to herd big cattle, because he's tough. He's got that like stoicism about him too, and he's kind of a he's not that excitable or overly nervous dog. He kind of just is. He has a stoicism about him, which does well for cattle work. And his stubbornness also is would help him very well in those scenarios, because you don't need a dog who is mentally weak or sensitive in those situations. So his main thing is he's got to learn how to just accept handler husbandry, which looks like obviously putting collars on. The thing about him is he doesn't like when you put the collar on and you're over him. He also doesn't like that, so he'll snap at you. But going back to, he just knows that he will lose control if something is put over him. Because I had thought about a catch pole with this guy, and I was like, yeah, probably not. It probably won't be a good idea for him for now. But I do want him to accept eventually things going over his head. But he does have to learn how to sit first, and he doesn't know how to sit. And that is a very important part in getting him to accept certain things, like the collar. So I get a lot of dogs who are collar shy, is what I call it, or collar aggressive, whatever you want to call it. But it's mostly for those dominant dogs that know that if this collar is on me, then I won't be in control as much as I would like to be in control. All right. So yeah, he's got to get used to regular things that are going to happen, that have to happen for him. And so we'll see how he does for the 3 weeks. He is kind of in a, where am I mindset right now, which is common amongst all dogs. But I'm hoping that he is young enough to where his play will start to overtake his need to be in control, overtake his need to be obviously dominant, and to show that, like, the joy about being a dog is being able to share space, being able to accept certain things from a human and other dogs. And that's the biggest issue, guys. All right, so here's the thing too, guys, that we have to remember when we're working with dogs of working breed, of working line. Because I honestly think, again, you could take him to a farm and he would do work. So if anybody's out there that is concerned about where he goes after this, I'd probably start getting into contact with some farmers. That would probably be his best. That would probably be his best chance at really living a good life, because it provides him of what he is bred to do. and what his temperament is. And so I always kind of ignore, well, I only take the DNA test with a grain of salt. I look at what the dog acts like and looks like. And sometimes those DNA tests can really throw you for a loop. Okay. Yeah. Cloud is made to sit whenever he's fed. That doesn't mean he knows how to sit. That just means he's hungry and he'll do something for it. Sitting means sitting under pressure, or when you don't want to, like when you dropped him off and he didn't sit, then he doesn't know sit because he just doesn't respect. The whole point of obedience is not to persuade them to do it. It's to get them to do it when it matters. That's what a good dog does. There's a lot of people that have that confusion that because you have something in your hand, and the dog does something for you, that they know how to do it. No, that's not how it works. They don't know how to do it unless you have something for them. That's not real learning. So he's stubborn. He's not going to sit, and until he's properly taught how to sit, and then he learns the result of what an actual sit under pressure provides him. And he doesn't know that because he's very dominant and insecure. What a sit should do is bring calmness and certainty. All obedience commands should bring your dog a certain level of calmness and clarity and comfort when you actually give it to them. But it can't be without treats, because they're only thinking about the treat. They're not thinking about anything else. And then once the treat is gone, they're not doing it. So my philosophy is the dog must do it because you tell him to, not because you pull out a treat. That's not real training. Okay. All right. So when we talk about humans and dogs, I also want to really bring up an important point. And that is, when you treat dogs like humans, they will treat you like a dog. I'll say that again. When you treat dogs like humans, they will treat you like a dog. They will jump on you. They will bite you. They will sleep in your bed. They will sleep in your bed. They will be on your couch. They will treat your guests like dogs because they think that they are on this level of a human. This is again, I brought this up last time, but I think it's super important for people to hear. They tell you not to feed wildlife for a reason. Why? Because they lose the respect and fear of the human, which means eventually you could get eaten and taken advantage of. Now, domestic dogs aren't that crucial, but on a lower level, it's the same thing. It's still nature you're dealing with, and it's nature's obligation, or I'm fine with obligation. It's nature's obligation to make things as easy as possible for themselves. And so if they can take space, they will. The only thing that keeps certain dogs from not being terrors is somebody or something in their life that goes, yeah, you can't take this space because I'm here to take this space. So, for example, when it comes to jumping is a very disrespectful thing amongst dogs because it means dominant. It means it's a very domineering behavior, because anything that happens that is, if you think about it like this is balance, right? And then if a dog tries to go over something, let's say a stranger or anybody for that matter puts their hand on your head, you will be highly offended. Or even a stranger comes over and puts their hands on your shoulders. you're going to get them the hell off of you because it's very disrespectful. And who are you? And why do you think it's comfortable? Why are you so comfortable enough to put your hands on me? I don't know you. And and so it's the same with dogs. Like a fight can happen if a dog jumps on another dog. So you would say though, you would label that person if a person came up to you and put their hand on your head or put their hands on your shoulders, didn't say anything, just went, and you would knock them off. You would definitely defend yourself, or you would have to call someone to defend yourself. But you would label that person ignorant, right? You would label that person ignorant. You would label that person um, an asshole. So it's kind of the same thing when dogs jump on you, especially if dogs are jumping on strangers. It's ignorance. It's insecure. It's very pushy behavior. So if a dog is allowed to disrespect humans on that level, then we're headed down the road of aggression being acceptable. Because again, they're designed to make things as easy for them as possible. That's why they do want to get in their bed. Your bed is very comfortable. That's why they want to not want to have dogs around when they're eating. That's why they want to demand attention from you. That's why they follow you around the house, and or they will bark at anything that makes them uncomfortable. I was on the phone with a client or a potential client who had a dog who was so domineering that it would meet her family multiple times and still want to nip them in certain scenarios. And in that scenario, it's not necessarily just fear that the dog is biting. It's convenience. It's, I can do this when I want. Sometimes I'll get along with you and sometimes I won't. It's up to me. But that way of thinking, again, is very dangerous because it makes the dog, quote unquote, unpredictable. A lot of folks call me and say that their dog is unpredictable. But no, because I can point out many behaviors that the dog, all dogs do the same behaviors. If they're aggressive, there are like at least 4 out of 5 behaviors guaranteed that they do that leads up to the aggression. And jumping is one, barking inside the home is the other, pulling on leash is one, following you around the house, food, they're around you when you're eating, and they just don't come when called. You know, so those, that's more than 5, but every aggressive dog has those behaviors. Not every dog that does those behaviors are aggressive. I want to point that out. But if your dog is aggressive, reactive in any way to anything, check on those behaviors. Make sure you're making a note of, okay, what happens when I walk inside the door? Is the dog meeting me at the door and jumping on me, overly excited, or in the crate barking his butt off, demanding that you let him out, demanding that you give them attention? Is that happening? Because again, those pushy behaviors will lead up to other destructive behaviors. Now, it is your obligation as a dog owner to make sure that not only if the dog gets along with you, that's pretty easy, but if the dog gets along with the community is also very important. And so if a dog is getting spoiled, then they tend to become antisocial, and they are picky with who they get along with, and or they just don't allow anybody else in their territory, around their owners, around their dogs, around their yard. They just become way too domineering. So anybody have any questions about that? That is of the dogs that I work with, very much so. They are dogs who, again, will gladly take space if allowed. And it is up to us to say this behavior should not go on for your safety and the safety of others. That's it. Okay, I think we got one more dog talk about. Who do I have? His name is not Clovis. It's what's his dang name? Starts with a C. Is it? It's not Clovis, is it? Hold on. I'm brain farting on his name. Let's see. It is Castile. That's it. Sorry. Castile, German Shepherd. He's actually been in a board and train with me before, like 3 years ago. And now he's back again because his owner has had some big surgery, out for 6 weeks, needs me to keep the dog. Said, hey, why don't you go ahead and give him a refresher? And it's cool to see that the dog really remembers a lot of what we taught him so quickly. So it does last. I know I've said this before, but he's very social. He came to me with human aggression. I mean, typical German Shepherd, insecure, young, and taking space as they see they need to. And he just needs more of a strong leader to tell him that what's appropriate and what's not. And also, the biggest issue that I see with, especially when it comes to shepherds or working dogs, is that they will demand a lot of things, and they can, in that demanding of these of things, can foster insecurity, which really makes for an unpredictable dog in general. That's probably the formula of dogs who are unpredictable, that they are allowed to have too much freedom too soon. And at such a young age, they will develop a weird perception of how the world works. And so it's up to us to really create space within that relationship with us. Don't allow them to snuggle and cuddle up with you all the time, because you can be, again, masking insecurity. And so sometimes it's appropriate that we ask for space when it comes to dogs. Like, tell them to leave, tell them to go away. Ask for space, like, especially when you're eating. It's a very good indicator of where your relationship is if you can sit down, have a good meal, and your dog not be sitting there looking at you, or laying down looking at you, near your feet, under the table, or even by you in the kitchen. Those boundaries are very important, and it makes a good, significant, plays a good, it's a really good thing to have in your relationship with your dog, if they can respect when you're eating food, because it's so tempting to just be pushy about food and get it, obviously, because they love it. But how about reward them if they go away and ignore you, instead of, looking at you like, can I have it? Can I have it? Can I have it? Will you give it to me? Can I have it? Can I have it? Some dogs will get antsy. They'll try and get cute. They'll do whatever it takes if they're hungry to get that food, especially for those food motivated dogs. So, all right, I got time for one more question, guys. I have a 6-month-old bully Chihuahua who has jumped on my 3-year-old's back several times. Won't stop. How to make her. Also won't potty train. Okay, 6-month-old bully Chihuahua who has jumped on my 3-year-old's back 7 times. Okay, so what your dog, I think, is attempting to do is control the 3-year-old. So what you have to do is make sure that you can step in between and tell the bully Chihuahua to go away. Basically, you got to take control, like a mother dog would, right? So if a mother dog sees that two puppies are playing and they're getting too rough, the mother dog will step in and snap at one of them. You know, usually the aggressor, and then it'll kind of squash it. So essentially, you kind of have to be that mother dog and take control. So you can do it in multiple ways, but the easiest way would be to um, step in between, use your body language, and uh, point your hand and finger or whatever in the opposite direction you want your dog to go, which is obviously the opposite direction of where your son is going or where your son is, and tell him to go away, knock it off, take control, and don't let the dog ignore you in that situation. Let the dog really understand that you want this stop, even if you have to grab him for a second and put him in a sit. Grab him by the collar and put him in a sit and really get him to understand that when I say something, I need you to listen to me. So it's just about follow through when it comes to controlling that scenario, and then also letting him know that that's not okay. Your 3-year-old could get hurt if he doesn't learn how to control that impulsive behavior. Okay, so I know it. You know, at 6 months, you're probably thinking he's super cute, but don't let him get away with being a butthole to your child, because it could lead to other behavior that you really don't want, obviously. Yeah, and so as far as the potty training goes, I'm guessing he has too much free roam of the house, because at 6 months you should have a handle on potty training. So he needs to know that you need to know that he has gone outside. And if you don't know that, then he shouldn't have free roam of your house. He should be put in a crate for another 10 to 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. And then you bring him back outside. But you let him know that if you want free roam of the house, you can't have pee and poop. You can't pee and poop in my house. The other thing is 6 months is still, there's people that can have a fully potty trained dog at 6 months, but there's also dogs out there that mature slowly. So again, I'd probably implement the crate a little bit more with him. It'll also help him control the impulse of the 3-year-old. So like, I'm guessing the 3-year-old is doing 3-year-old things, and maybe he wants to go over there and quote unquote play, which I still wouldn't do that. That's taking it too far. I don't want my dogs jumping on my children. I don't care how young they are. I don't care how young the dog is, or I don't care how young my child is. That's a no-no for me. Okay. But if you make sure you're napping him too, put him up in the crate in the middle of the day. It'll help him grow. It'll be good for him. And it'll also, once again, your 3-year-old can do 3-year-old things, and he can't have access to that. That's what he needs to ensure that they have a good relationship moving forward. All right. I really want to emphasize that. I want you guys to make sure that the 3-year-old and the 6-month-old have a good relationship. But right now it doesn't seem as so, because 6 months is old enough to know that you're being disrespectful with the jumping. And so make sure also that the 6-month-old is not jumping on you guys. That's number one in this whole thing as well. If the dog is jumping on you guys, then he's free to disrespect humans in general. But when it comes to kids bring a little bit more loud noises, a little bit more action, and so sometimes that creates more impulsive behavior from a dog. All right, so stop it. Just plain up, straight up. Do not let it happen. To again ensure that the bully Chihuahua and the 3-year-old can have a good relationship, but you will have to control. The best scenario is to be able to control both parties. If the 3-year-old's being obnoxious, because there are some obnoxious kids out there, then you are leaving it. And if you don't intervene, then don't be surprised if your dog takes control of that dog over the 3-year-old. And then if you don't have control of your 6-month-old dog, then that can also result into some bad stuff. So the best scenario is if you can have control over both. A really good kid that listens well and a dog that listens well is going to optimize the human kid dog experience together. Okay. All right, you guys. It is 10:03. I appreciate everyone who commented. Please like it. Um, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We will be doing this every Wednesday. And yeah, this was a good one. I appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you in the next one.